Guys, what is happening? How's things? Right, listen, this short presentation today basically is just to give you insight into monitoring food intake. Obviously, over the course of 6 weeks, I'm showing you how to use portion control and I'm showing you how to monitor your calories as well. So I'm going to run through the short presentation in terms of basically the pros and cons of both calorie counting and the pros and cons of monitoring food intake, just to give you a general idea of what's all involved basically, and the pros and cons of it, because there is good points about both of them and there is certain sticky points as well in terms of them as well. But the thing here is as well is getting something that suits you and having the best of both worlds when you actually are monitoring your food intake as well. Alright, so let's get into it. Right, things to consider when you're talking about monitoring food intake here. You're talking about your preparation, right? Are you prepared for the week lying ahead? Do you know what you're eating from one day to the next as well? Do you have a house full of good food? Do you have a fridge full of good sources of food, water, etc., good sources of fats, carbs and proteins as well? And then you're going to have to consider the portion sizes that you have been using to get you to currently where you are, and the ones that you're going to have to use to get you closer to your end result rather as well. And then you've got tracking of calories, right? The tracking of calories using MyFitnessPal, when I'm measuring them as well. And the overall thing of this here relies on consistency. Consistency is a key, complete key on your fitness journey rather, alright? So portion size, right, it's not an exact science. You don't need to worry about trimming off edges and stuff like that there, right? It doesn't take a genius to work out if they're eating too much. Now, if you look at the size of your portion on your plate and you're like, Genie Mac, that is a big portion, you know in your own head that you need to pull back as well, okay? One portion of protein is an open palm, and a portion of carbs is a cleansed fit, and fats are used sparingly on salads to cook in, etc. You know, I've spoke about that before, and I spoke about that there in week 1 as well in terms of portion sizes. So then look, you've seen this before too. Hand portion control taken from Precision Nutrition, really good. So open palm, cleansed fist, and then fats thumbs width. Alright, so just study that there. If you need it, we can get you that there, or just even type that into Google and you will get it as well at Google Images. Say Precision Nutrition and Portion Control Guideline. Alright, relatively simple, easy to use, right? Okay. Now, in terms of using portion control as your choice of monitoring, right? The Pro 1, it's convenient and easy to use, alright, providing that it's used properly, alright. So, as I spoke about before, open palm, cleansed fist, and fats are used sparingly, okay? It's less hassle, alright, and it can save time, okay? Pro number 3, it can avoid having seconds. So, for example, if you know you have cleansed fish of carbohydrates and an open palm of protein, right? If you know that, you know what I mean, it can avoid you come back for more. Some people it mightn't, other people it'll be in the back of their head that they know not to go back for more, basically, alright? And it means also that you don't have to clear your plate if you're using portion control. If you look at the plate and you see that it's an absolute mountain of a portion, you know yourself that you need to pull back on that, alright? Now, the cons of portion control, it can lead to overestimation, basically, alright? So you could say, right, listen, there's 1,000 calories in my plate, but there actually might be 1,200, alright? So if you were doing that 5 times a week, you're overestimating by 200 calories per meal or whatever it may be, or per day. That there's an extra 1,000 calories per week, and that could be a reason why you're not losing weight as well, okay? So it needs to be, you need to be aware of what you're consuming as well and the choice of food that you're having. It can also make people think that foods that are bland are best, alright, because they aren't actually aware of what how many calories sauces contain and butters contain, which can be highly calorific, the likes of cheeses and stuff, how much to use, etc. So they often stick to bland foods. This is not the case. All you need to do is a bit of research and a wee bit of education on what foods contain and how much of them you should be eating, alright. It can also lead to very restrictive, alright, because a lot of people think when they're using portion control, they need to cut out all sorts of food. Yes, there is foods that you can cut out to get yourself in a deficit, but you don't need to be as restrictive as some people think. It can also lead to overindulgence because, for example, if you've been very, very, very restrictive and then you crave and you want all the hyper palatable foods that you've completely cut out of your diet, it can lead to overindulgence. All right. Now, the pros of counting calories, right? It can provide a measurable metric, basically, right? It gives you something to measure. And if you're measuring something, so if your daily calorie intake is 2,000 calories and you're measuring this here, you know you need 2,000 calories to lose weight. As I often said before, you're never going to get your calories exactly bang on. It's going to be give or take. So, for example, it provides a measurable metric that you can use, all right? Pro 2 then, it can quantify how much you're consuming, so you know exactly how much you're consuming when you're counting your calories. So you're weighing your food out, you're measuring, you're being very, very meticulous. You're not just scanning it into MyFitnessPal going, right, that's about 500 grams of chicken, or that's 200 grams of chicken, whatever it may be. You're actually scanning the barcode of the food in, then you're weighing it out, and it gives you exactly what it is, all right? It can increase mindfulness, which is Pro 3, right? And what I mean by that there, it can make you aware of what foods actually contain. Just going back to uh, making foods, the con number 2 here, portion control, making foods very bland. If you're increasing your mindfulness here in the pros of counting calories, it can interlink here in this here. It can give you an idea if you make up a sauce, what calories it contains and how much of it you should consume to be within your calorie deficit to hit your achieved goals, or your calorie surplus to hit your achieved goals, so you're not putting on fat or whatever it may be. It can provide something to stick to, all right? It gives you an idea of what you need to stick to in terms of to be in a deficit, and in terms of what you need to be in a surplus to gain weight or lose weight as well. So it gives you a proven strategy that's going to work. Number 5 then, it's necessary to optimize body composition, all right? So if you need to change your body composition, it is very, very reliable measure as well to get you in the best possible shape, okay? That's the pros of it, alright? Now the cons of counting calories, right? It can be unnecessary, and it can be stress and hassle for some. So, you know, if you're in a rush and you have to sit and weigh out 40 grams of porridge in the morning and fucking 40 ml of milk, like, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. Or you're rushing out for work that way, it can be a bit of a nightmare, alright? You can lose focus on food quality, all right, and this comes into people saying, right, for example, I've probably used this analogy before. If you have 1,000 grams of chocolate bars and 1,000 grams of protein, which is going to be more beneficial for you? People think, yeah, right, my daily calories intake is 2,000 calories, and that means I can consume 2,000 calories of Snickers. All right, that is not the case, because you need to look at the quality of food that you're consuming, and in this instance, you know, you or the 1,000 calories of chocolate bars is not going to be more beneficial as opposed to 1,000 calories of Snickers. Sorry, the 1,000 calories of chocolate bars rather is not going to be more beneficial than the 1,000 calories of protein, if that makes sense. So you can lose a bit of food, focus on food quality. And con 3, can be used as a justification for eating poor foods, basically. So, like, you think, as it's just sort of interlinking with con 2 there, if you think, like, again, the analogy of 1,000 calories of chocolate compared to 1,000 calories of protein, which is going to be more beneficial to your body. Now, if you says, right, listen, I'm going to have 200 calories of chocolate and 800 calories of protein, now that would be more beneficial to you, right? It can make people overstress. Then number 4, people can overstress and be very meticulous if they're out eating for food. Saying, no, like, I can't eat that because I need to be in a certain calorie range and my macros need to be a certain aren't matching up, etc. It can lead to undue stress, right? Listen, the thing here as well, not all these points are going to apply to everyone, but there are just things that I've seen happen as well, alright? Personally, I think calorie tracking can have a lot of value when it's used in the right way. I think for long-term sustainable stress-free eating, then not actively tracking calories and macro intake is a way to go. Again, it depends, alright? You need to do what's best for your life and your goals, basically, alright? So, if you think about it, we are getting the best of both worlds here, because we're showing you how to use portion control, we're showing you how to manage your calories as well. And when you're using portion control, if you're using the best of both worlds, if you are tracking and you are using portion control, I think it's the way to go, because it allows you to have stress-free eating when you're out. And if you're working, say for example, working at home, you're working from an office or whatever it may be, that way it's more convenient for you possibly to track calories, as opposed to trying working on a building site and trying to monitor all your food that way. It's going to depend on you and your lifestyle, so you need to do something that's going to best fit you. This is why I've shown how to introduce calorie counting and showing how to use portion control. So it's about getting the best of both worlds and getting something that's going to suit you. Okay, guys.